I'm Georgie Prodromo and I'm here with SJ and Bryony from Suffolk Constabulary, and they're going to be talking us through their domestic abuse perpetrator programme. Now SJ, talk us through a little bit about your role and what the programme is for.
Yeah, the programme is, it's for perpetrators. It's for those perpetrators. Well, all perpetrators need to try and change their behaviour. But if we've got a perpetrator who, is willing to engage with us, who wants to change, who can see that they're abusive, then we will work with them. It's a programme that lasts about 6 months. During that 6 months, they'll be allocated a behaviour change caseworker, for example, Bryony. And Bryony will work with that perpetrator to try and change how they, deal or how they behave with, within relationships.
Yeah, and as SJ said, Bryony, you're a caseworker on this. So what is your job, and how does it work with these perpetrators?
So my role is a behaviour change caseworker, and we get referrals in from different services, social services, police, probation or self-referrals, and from there they go through a process of seeing if they're going to be relevant for our programme, and then passed on to myself or my colleagues to run through the behaviour change perpetrator programme with them. And that is a 20 session programme with an extra 6 sessions on top of that for catch-ups, and we focus on all different kinds of stuff within that and tailor make it to what they need.
Yeah, and it's important to mention the person actually has to want to change. They have to want to engage with the programme, don't they? And it's not just anyone that can get onto it. So what is the admission system like? What sort of people do you accept onto it?
So when we get referrals in, they go through an assessment with our police officer, looking at history and current kind of incidents of domestic abuse, and they get kind of a score, and then we take that to a panel with our boss, and go through any risk factors, go through any kind of problems or any barriers that could be potentially in the way. We look at things like if they need an interpreter, if they need an interpreter, or if they need any other kind of additional kind of needs to help them kind of come onto the programme. And then from there, we will then make contact with them if they're suitable, and see if they're willing to meet us for a sign-up session.
Yeah, and what do you focus on in those sessions, and what do you talk about? How do you sort of improve not only their lives but the lives of the people around them as well?
So it's very much a kind of whole family approach when it comes to working with them. When they come to the sign-up session, we go through an expectations form, an information form, and we ask them to be as transparent as they possibly can be. And within that, we ask them questions about their relationship. We ask them questions on how they communicate, what their parenting looks like if they're a parent, but just how they deal with conflict in general. And then from there, we do sessions 1, 2 and 3 are like introductory sessions where we get to know them. We do family tree, we do values and goals. And then from there, we go away and tailor make the programme to what we think they're going to need. So if they say they want to work on their anger, we'll go away and get some things that are going to help them with that. Other than that, we just introduce things that we think are going to be useful to them. So it's very individually made.
Yeah, and how important is accountability in this process? Because we obviously, you want to be speaking to people that want to make that change, that admit that there's a problem in the first place, that they might be exhibiting behaviours that aren't right. What difference does it make when someone opens up and says, actually, I know that this is wrong, I want to change here?
Obviously, that's the first step. If they come to us and they're not necessarily showing any intention of changing, then we would work with it, but we would have to see where that kind of went. But yeah, accountability is, they've got to take accountability for it. One of the questions we ask is, what is the nature of abuse of the incidents that you've been arrested for, and ask them to be as open and as honest as they possibly can be. So yeah, there has to be some kind of recognition of wanting to make a positive change and make their lives better for them and their family.
Yeah, and they are held accountable throughout the process as well, aren't they? And the family are involved as a unit too, because you speak to the person's partner, to the family, and see that behaviour is being upheld. So how does that work, and how connected is it to other people in the family unit?
So I mean, it's a very holistic approach. So we'll have Bryony or one of our other behaviour change caseworkers working with the perpetrator, and then we will have our victim support coordinator actually working with the victim as well. And then, if suitable as well, and then there are children within the family unit, then we have access to a children's IDVA, children's independent domestic violence advisor who can work on what a healthy relationship is, and just keep eyes on those children as well, especially if social care are not involved at that point. So that enables us to be able to tailor make the programme, but also check things that the perpetrator might be actually saying to us. So if we've given a perpetrator a tool, if you like, for how they might next deal with something, then it's advising the victim that might be how they then deal with that situation. So preparing everybody in that family unit as to actually what might happen, and checking the information that they're giving us as well to make sure that we're not having the wool pulled over our eyes. So it's very much having eyes on everybody. For us to be able to do that safely.
And by its very nature, sometimes perpetrators are using coercive control, they can be manipulative, so how do you ensure they're not doing that, exhibiting that behaviour with you, Bryony?
I mean, we go in with a very firm approach. We're not afraid to challenge. If within a session, if something comes up around, a woman should do this, or a man should do this, whoever we're working with, we challenge those beliefs, especially if they contribute to their abusive behaviour. It's a very much a supportive, therapeutic approach. However, it is also a domestic abuse programme, so we never lose sight of that, and always are prepared to challenge and get them to actually consider it from a different perspective.
Yeah, you mentioned both men and women there, so this is open to everyone, isn't it? It's not necessarily just women that are experiencing domestic violence, so it can be women that take part of in this programme too, can't it?
Yeah, and that's what's really important about our programme, because we work one-on-one with perpetrators. We can really tailor make that programme. So we will, if we've talked about interpreters, but if a perpetrator needs if a perpetrator needs an interpreter, we can use that as we can look at, we've had to along the ways, learn about different cultures, haven't we? And as well, and really sort of tailor make to actually look at somebody's history, with regards to their domestic abuse. So we really can tailor make that programme to suit the individual.
Yeah, and Bryony, of course, you work with these people for a long period of time, don't you? How transformative can it be? How much can it improve their life, everyone else's around them too?
It changes. Depending on what their attitude is coming in to meet us. Some people are very sceptical, some people are very open to the process. But I think once they kind of get past the fact that they're either in a police station, just meeting us, and then however we choose to meet them, whether it's face-to-face or online,
yep.
You kind of almost have to create that kind of professional relationship with them in order to be able to kind of gain their trust, let them know that they can talk openly. We do have obviously expectations agreement states that if they do disclose an offence, then obviously we need to report it. But along the way, I think some people definitely benefit from just having somebody there to speak to, but also to challenge some of the things that they think have been okay when actually they haven't along the way. So yeah, we've seen people change their absolute life around.
Really? And how has that worked? How much of a moment of pride has that been for you as well, that you've seen that happen?
Yeah, I mean, we've had people on our programme who have been homeless, and then we've got them housed. We've had people who have gone through drug programmes as well, people who have been struggling with alcohol. We've got them support, money advice, all those kind of things, and just little risk factors in their lives have started to kind of go away with our help, and I think that in itself helps their journey as well.
Yeah, you mentioned addiction, finances, all of those things can mount up, can't they? So Are you there to sort of aid with that, and how do you help with those things?
Yeah, so we ask them kind of every month, we do like a pathways with them and just check where their situation is, what their current situation is, if they're with a partner, if they're not with a partner, if they need support with anything. And if they say, yeah, I'd like some help, then we will refer to the appropriate agency. Sometimes we'll take the issues to our meetings, our reviews that we do on each individual, and just talk about what's going to be the best route for them. And like paired with our work as well, it tends to, you know, get them to feel like they're receiving the support that they need to make positive changes in their life.
We know some victims, some survivors won't necessarily feel comfortable coming forward, making statements to police, or even, coming to police with an incident as well that might be worrying to them. So how much of this do you think does help in those situations? If someone does want to get better, is promising that they can improve and can change, and the other person does want that too, how much of this plays into that sort of situation?
Yeah, so if a perpetrator wants to change and actually the family want to stay together as a family unit, then we can absolutely try and work with them. But it is all about it's consent based. We need the perpetrator needs to want to be there, because if they're not ready, we're not going to see the success of change. So it's all about drilling, in those early stages when we're talking about those sign-up sessions, those early meets whereby we're really drilling down into a perpetrator's motivation. What is their motivation for actually coming onto the programme? Is it because they've just actually been told that they need to be there by social care? Or is it actually that, yes, social care have mentioned it and they thought it was a good idea, because ultimately they don't just want to change for themselves, they want to change because they want to stay in that family unit. They want to still see their children, they want to still be in a relationship with the victim. So it's all about really making sure that somebody is in the right place to actually work with us.
So SJ, tell us, who is this actually open to, and what sort of people are you looking to get involved in the programme?
Okay, so the biggest part for this programme is a perpetrator's actually got to want to be there. They've got to want to change their behaviour. We can't work with people that are just not in the right space to change. There are lots of court-ordered programmes out there, but this is completely independent of anything like that. A perpetrator can self-refer. They can be referred in by any other means, or any other agency, but they've got to actually want to be there. It's also a really inclusive programme, so we can work alongside interpreters. So if an interpreter is required, then we will work with them to deliver the programme. And equally, if we need to slow the programme down at any time, then we can do as well. Because obviously, as you can imagine, delivering one session, which is perhaps normally an hour long, but actually having then to deliver with an interpreter can take 2 hours. So it might be that we need to then actually break that session down into two sessions that week.
So I guess it's not necessarily any size fits all, but we work with what they bring.
Yeah, definitely.
And work around it.
Yeah, and for those people that have only done, maybe noticed a few behaviours in themselves that they're exhibiting and want to get help, is there, do you think, maybe a stigma preventing them from coming forward and getting help with you? And what would you say to someone that might have been thinking, there will be repercussions if I come forward, if I try and get that help?
I don't think they necessarily like the label of a perpetrator, but we try and get them to not focus too much on that. That's just what our unit's called, and what our programme looks at. But also, within that, they do have to take part of them coming forward is them actually taking responsibility, and saying, do you know what? Yeah, okay, I have made a mistake, or I've been in the wrong. So I guess it comes with them coming to us and being willing to come to us. That in itself is the first step.
And SJ, you spoke previously about the onus being on the perpetrator rather than on the victim. So tell us a bit about that. How important is that? Yeah,
so I think, society's come a long way in relation to the stigma attached for domestic abuse, but we've still got a long way to go. Society quite often will say, well, why doesn't the victim leave? But actually, it's not why doesn't the victim leave, it's why doesn't the perpetrator change their behaviour, and that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, and for them to actually be able to change their behaviour
Yeah.
themselves rather than any onus being on the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taking that responsibility.
Yeah. How much of this does focus on the victim's safety, on their relationship, and that, as you say, they are perpetrators are telling the truth when they're coming to you.
That's paramount for us, isn't it? Because we need to be able to deliver our programme in a safe environment. We don't want to increase the risk to a victim by us being involved. So it's very much a multi-agency response. And like I said before, it's having eyes on the perpetrator, or at least the perpetrator telling us what's going on, but actually does that match what the victim is telling us is going on? And then also working with the children and putting in the safety plans for the children as well.
How important are kids in this process? Because of course they are paramount here. They might be deeply affected by what's going on at home. So how do you protect them?
So it's about the children working with our children's IDVA. They will meet with the children, and the victim and perpetrator will know that we're doing that. That's part of our sign up process for them as well. And it'll be meeting with them somewhere independent, like maybe at school, assessing where they're at, their level of knowledge, etc. And also looking at we come at it from. I think the children's IDVAs tend to come at it from a different stance. They'll look at what healthy relationships are. So maybe not directly asking about the abuse in their household, but actually looking at what a healthy relationship looks like and what an unhealthy relationship looks like, and talking about various factors like that.
Thank you so much, SJ and Bryony, for talking to us about this today. And if you find anything that we've spoken about interesting, please do get in touch with Suffolk Constabulary.